Drivers, start your engines!
This is MRN Motorsports Monday, presented by Outback Steakhouse. One full hour of news, interviews, and opinion about the past weekend's racing action. Brought to you by Hercules Tires.
Pace car is up.
Now, here are your hosts, Woody Kane and Joey Meyer.
Green flag, green flag.
Race number 2 in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup is in the books, and we're talking about that and more today on MRN Motorsports Monday, presented by Outback Steakhouse. I'm Woody Kane, joined as always by Joey Meyer, two-spotter, the number 2 on Twitter. If you'd like to play along with us, mine is at WY Kane. Just use the hashtag AskMRN so we can find your tweet along the way. Big weekend, Outback Steakhouse, our sponsor, right there on top where Kevin Harvick has taken the number 4 car, and they are good for round number 2.
So what, he just showed up and led the most laps, dominated the race? Everybody expected him to win.
Not so much.
Wow, no.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Toyota dominated the race essentially between Martin Truex and Matt Kenseth.
Led all but 20 laps.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Harvick said, coming through.
Oh, yeah, don't forget about me.
Yeah,
Here we go.
Yeah, we got to get these guys some bloomin' onions.
Final restart. That's exactly right. And since Kevin Harvick won, don't forget to race into Outback Steakhouse today for a free Bloomin' Onion, because Kevin Harvick finished in the top 10, of course, the top spot. Outback Steakhouse, done right. Visit them today to check out their $6.99 lunch specials, the Joey menu, which is for kids, but Joey thinks it's for him. That's okay.
It's a diet menu.
Check it out. There's a lot of
Still
cool
a diet
stuff on
menu.
there. Check out their new center cut sirloin. It's fantastic. And we have a big show coming up for you today. William Byron wins the first race in the Camping World Truck Series chase in dominating fashion at Loudon, New Hampshire. And he is now off to Las Vegas for round number 2.
It looked like he utilized all of his past experience racing at Loudon, New Hampshire to go ahead and dominate that race.
Yeah, not so much. Can you believe that was only his 18th career start?
Yeah.
He's won 6 times. He's batting .333 with wins.
If he was playing baseball, but he's not playing baseball.
And
so
that's a pretty good average in baseball.
But it's not baseball.
But what driver wouldn't take 1 out of every 3 races going to victory lane?
I just think some drivers would take 1 victory out of 100 times.
Exactly. That's my point. He's having a pretty big year.
And he had never been to Loudon, New Hampshire before.
Mm-hmm.
So that was
well,
pretty
he had been there
impressive.
for a test and had been there like in K&N, but
From a truck racing standpoint, he had never competed.
Exactly.
Started up front, really didn't have to pass anybody, so it was a pretty easy day.
It seemed like, but he would say otherwise. We'll ask him about it when we have him on the show. A little bit later on, Tim Fedewa is going to join us. He's the spotter for Kevin Harvick as that team got by Matt Kenseth on the final restart, gets their win and punches the ticket to round number 2 when it seemed like Toyota was going to run away with the weekend. But first, let's hear what Kevin Harvick had to say in victory lane when he spoke with our Kyle Rickey.
Nice way to rebound after some struggles a week ago at Chicagoland Speedway. You don't have to worry about points now going to Dover. Kind of bring us through your day today. I was listening to you on the radio. Seemed pretty content most of the afternoon.
Yeah, we just needed a solid day today, and I knew we had a fast Ditech Chevy as we went through practice. And, as we got into the race, the car was running pretty good. We had to tweak on it a little bit. And then they just kept us in position all day to have a chance there at the end. Everybody did a great job, and in the end got a good restart, and we're able to get to victory lane.
Yeah, bring us through that final restart, and how crucial of a restart or late race caution was that for you? Would you have been able to get them without that final yellow?
Probably not. I think we were, 3rd or 4th there, and then we were able to have a good restart and get to 2nd, and then have another good restart there at the end and get the win. So, yeah, a lot of these races come down to these restarts. We've lost a few on the restart, so it's nice to get one back.
Pressure, I guess, is never really off, but you have a week next week where you can kind of breathe a little bit.
Yeah, you definitely still want to win. I mean, you want to go out and try to perform well. That's been a really good racetrack for us, and we hadn't been in this position a lot of times to be able to just really go for it and have a good weekend. So hopefully we can go to Dover and do just that and have a good time.
2 of the 10 races in the books in the chase, and that means there are, Joey, let's go to the big board, 2,877.58 miles left, miles to Miami, as the season finale will be at Homestead Miami Speedway. Every Thursday we'll have a news story focusing on the miles to Miami, a feature, a spotlight to get you prepared for the Ford Championship weekend in Miami. And there we see the chase grid as it stands right now. Truex and Harvick with 1 win apiece, and then the rest of the people back all the way to Kyle Larson, who currently holds the last spot if the round were to end today.
Yeah, if we were at Homestead, Martin Truex would be your champion. but we're not at Homestead, and we still have one more race left in the first round. You have teammates racing each other. Kyle Larson and McMurray, Jimmy McMurray racing teammates out of the same house, Chip Ganassi Racing, right here located Concord, North Carolina. They have to race each other for that last 12th and most coveted spot to try to move on to that second round.
Do you lay a bumper to your teammate if you need to at the end of a race?
Man, oh man. What I thought was really cool is we have William Byron on later on this afternoon here at 12:10. We've seen the youth movement coming into our sport, but 2 of the 3 series were won by some of the most veteran-aged drivers, with Elliott Sadler, 41 years of age, Kevin Harvick, 40 years of age, going,
don't forget about us.
You have your time, Mr. Youth Movement. We need to come through. We're going to knock on the old door and come into victory lane and show you how it's done. Elliott Sadler, been in the series a very long time, competing in his first championship, took the win there in Kentucky. Kevin Harvick, a past series champion in the Xfinity Series, as well as in the last 2 years in the Sprint Cup, is able to compete again and move on to that second round. I'm curious to talk to Tim Fedewa later on and just see how the nerves have calmed down now to go to Dover, because that place will chew us up quickly.
Winning is the greatest deodorant in the world, they say, and now everything might be okay for another week or 2. Yeah, when things, okay, all right, really? You didn't have to go there. All right, stop that. Cut that out right now.
Deodorant.
Yeah, let's take a look at things as the way we stood there, getting a look at the win from Kevin Harvick, the way we stand chase-wise right now, and we're down to it in terms of what happens at Dover, at least in terms of the Sprint Cup Series, who moves on, who does not. And we got our first Twitter question of the day. Nathan Webster wants to know, do you guys think anyone below the cut line has a chance to avoid being eliminated at Dover? And I'd say maybe one of the guys with 5 points. But we saw last year it looked like Jimmy Johnson was going to be safe rolling into Dover, and it turned out to be a not-so-much type case.
Yeah, I mean, the last 4 drivers are minus 19. They're tied minus 19, minus 20, and minus 30. Any one of those drivers has no opportunities for a mulligan.
Yeah.
The minute if they have any, they could just be riding around and having a regular standard mechanical issue that Dover has known to reach out there and bite those cars and break stuff that hasn't broken years. We've seen that numerous times. Like you said, welds find a way to find the weak spot, and they break there at the concrete mile. So any of those drivers could fall out while maintaining the McMurrays, Dillon, Tony Stewart. I still think it's Tony Stewart's best opportunity is to win at Dover, which he's done, and he runs very well there.
Yeah.
And I think Stewart-Haas Racing will go with their guns a-blazing to try to get Tony Stewart in his last and final year in the Sprint Cup Series a win at Dover to carry him on.
It seems to me, though, when we've had the chase in the past, since we've had the rounds, it always seems like one guy you don't expect winds up getting eliminated in that first round. It was Jimmy Johnson a year ago. We don't know who it might be this year, but as you mentioned, we've seen some crazy restarts at Dover where, 8, 10, 12 cars get all wadded up.
Yeah, in the front row. That's
yeah.
The first, second rows get wadded up. The interesting thing about this chase is last week we talked about the Cinderella story, and if you didn't listen to it, you can download it on the podcast at MRN.com. That's a hell of a plug, by the way.
Yeah, and YouTube.
And YouTube channel. But what we have is we have the inverse of the Cinderella story. We have the top seed or one of the top seeds. Like you say, last year was a 6-time champion not moving out of the first round. So it's almost the inverse of the Cinderella story, was that guy you just automatically expect to be at Homestead didn't even get the first round. There are some guys that are clearly making the first round was a win for them. So we don't expect much from those teams. They're happy. They're in their growth spurts. But teams like Jimmy Johnson, Kurt Busch, Carl Edwards, they're sitting right there on the teetering edge, and they can't afford any opportunity to make a mistake.
This, to me, is what makes the chase a lot of fun. You have an opportunity, what you've seen in other sports, where you might have been the best team all season long, but if you can't put it all on the line in one big moment and you have a bad game, a bad night, a bad shooting night, a bad hitting night, whatever you want to call it, you could be one and done in the playoffs, and that's what this atmosphere, this system creates in the playoffs, and I think it makes for a lot of fun. It makes for a lot of cool speculation, a cool what-if type moments, and championship type moments, Game 7 moments.
Yeah, we always compare ourselves to other sports. In 1972, the Dolphins went 17-0, so that's the premier record. The New England Patriots showed up at 18-0 and should have won the Super Bowl.
Should have.
They didn't.
Yeah.
The Giants won 18-1. The Cardinals, best record a couple years back, should have gone to the playoffs. Didn't. Barely even got out of the playoffs. And then we see basketball last year with the Cavaliers beating the most winningest team ever. In
Golden State.
So you see it in every sport where you have a team that clearly on paper They don't play the game on paper, but clearly on paper is the better team, and that's how race teams are as well, because clearly there's some teams that should be moving on easily past the second round, and right now they're teetering on the brink of not making it out of the first round.
Yeah, and that's a lot to watch for. Okay, as we mentioned, a big show coming up. Tim Fedewa, the spotter for Kevin Harvick, will join us a little bit later on in the program. We've still got on-track, off-track to talk about, but on the other side of the break, William Byron, the rookie who's won 6 times so far this season and leads the standings in the Camping World Truck Series, will join us after his big win at New Hampshire.
This is MRN Motorsports Monday.
In the Outback, we think the best part about racing is the noise, the engine, the pits, and a Kevin Harvick top 10 finish. Especially a Kevin Harvick top 10 finish. That's because if Kevin Happy Harvick, driver of the number 4 Chevrolet, places in the top 10 in today's race, there's free bloomin' onions this Monday. So you'll have a happy bloomin' Monday. Only at Outback Steakhouse. Valid with any purchase. 1 per table. Participation may vary. Registered trademarks used with permission.
From work life to nightlife, from home to the road, your day can take you anywhere. These fast-paced times call for Wrangler Advanced Comfort jeans. Advanced Comfort is designed to keep up with you, no matter where you go or what you're doing. They're made with 20% stronger denim and 4-way flex technology that moves with you. Wrangler Advanced Comfort. Go anywhere, look great, and be comfortable. Wrangler Advanced Comfort jeans. Try on a pair today.
Ever wish your kid came with an instruction manual? I'm behavioral therapist James Lehman, and I'll show you how to change your child's behavior now with the Total Transformation, the program that helps stop defiance, backtalking, lying, acting out in school, even problems with ADD and ADHD. There's no screaming, no fighting, no frustration. Your child will listen to you again. I guarantee it.
Change your child's behavior now with the Total Transformation. Call now. 1-800-406-2945. 1-800-406-2945.
Hey, I'm Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Now back to Joey Meyer and Woody Kane on Motorsports Monday.
Christopher Bell continues to close on race leader William Byron. White flag from the starter's stand. 1 lap to go here at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. The race leaders are back in turn 1.
As much as Bell would like to have Byron would love to be on cruise control right now. He can't be. Work to be done. Right behind the Cameron Haley machine. Christopher Bell, a truck length behind in second spot.
And a good run off of 2. It may not be enough. The race leaders into turn number 3. The gap about 3 or 4 truck lengths for William Byron as he makes his way off of 4 for the final time.
Checkered flag set to fly off turn number 4. William Byron will go to victory lane in round 1 of the Camping World Truck Series chase, his 6th victory of 2016.
And that's the way it sounded from New Hampshire Motor Speedway. That was Dave Moody, Kyle Rickey, Buddy Long, and Dylan Welch on the call from New Hampshire. And boy, did he win. The driver of the Liberty University Toyota for Kyle Busch Motorsports joins us on the guest line now. William, congratulations, man. Are you still kind of pinching yourself at the way this season has gone for you?
Yeah, thank you guys for having me on the show. It was a great weekend for us. It's been a good year so far. We're just trying to keep the momentum going. We really want to be there in Homestead, hopefully, and have a good shot at it. So just we're happy with what we've done this year, and hopefully it continues.
You know, realistically, looking at your stat sheet, you haven't completed one complete year in the Camping World Truck Series, but yet you have a 6-pack of victories. People tend to forget it's your first opportunity to compete in the Truck Series at Loudon, New Hampshire, and a lot of preparation, even before you show up from a driver's standpoint, takes place. Ask yourself, or how do you ask yourself when you go to Loudon, New Hampshire, how do you prepare for that?
Well, I mean, Loudon is a different racetrack for us than anything. It's so flat, and the short tracks I've really been working on this year. We've had some good results, with the win at Iowa and some places, but I just want to make sure we had everything lined up for the first race of the chase. So we just did a lot of preparation on videos and onboards and stuff like that to try and get an idea of what the place was going to drive like. And luckily, when we got there, we had the right speed in the truck. We made some really good adjustments. Was able to keep up with the racetrack, and I felt like we kind of set the tone from the start of practice that how focused we were going to be, which was, I think, the most important thing in the weekend.
William, are you, with you being the part of the younger generation, are you a big simulator user before you go to a racetrack?
Yeah, I like simulation. Obviously, Toyota has one, and I use a little bit of iRacing, but it's gotten harder to really relate it. I feel like sometimes, I don't know if it's just my nature, but I feel like I try and use too much of what the sim does, and I end up, not trusting what I normally feel on a racetrack. So there's a lot of things in there when you start to try and perfect it. It doesn't always apply to real life, but it is a really good way to get a visual of the racetrack before you go there. And I think just to get a general idea of what the place is going to drive like.
Yeah, I know those are really good and really advanced now, but that's what I was going to ask you next is, do you ever get to a track after being on a simulator, especially one you haven't been to before, and go, whoa, this isn't what I was expecting?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. They're definitely. I mean, Chicago was one of those, like, just the bumps and stuff. It didn't necessarily, I didn't feel that. I didn't think it was going to be that bad, and then we got there, and there are a few, severe bumps, and Texas was a little bit like that too. So there's a couple places that, you kind of scratch your head like, man, I thought I had a better idea. But there's also some places you get a really good feel, and it's really just a good thing for the team to know, what things are going to change when you get to the racetrack and have a head start on what you're going to do in practice.
Yeah, so you show up in Loud never being there, you ran a little bit of sims, some videos, but then you make it look easy, and you sit right on the pole, you lead the most laps and bring home the victory. But it actually wasn't that easy behind the scenes. What issues were you experiencing during the race?
Well, I mean, we fought a little bit of loose end and different things like that, but our truck was obviously good, and we worked on restarts to kind of play the teammate restarts a little bit with our teammate Christopher Bell to help him just help KBM overall. When we work together as teams, it always helps the whole company. So I think we just had a good weekend there. And obviously these things are never easy. I mean, there's strategy that comes down to sometimes, and especially I feel like when you have a fast truck like that, everyone knows they got to do the opposite of what you do. So that's always what you're worried about. And we were fortunately able to get through a restart there. I think we restarted sixth and got back to the lead. And I think after that, everyone took 4 tires with us, which allowed us to stay on the same strategy as everyone and kind of use our speed to our advantage.
You mentioned your teammate Christopher Bell. Both you guys are rookies. You finished 1-2 at New Hampshire. That being the case, when neither of you guys is the veteran, who are you leaning on to get a little help from if you need it here and there at different tracks?
Well, definitely Kyle. I mean, we had our competition meeting the week before from Chicago, where we went over all the things that went on at Chicago, different observations, which have kind of a list of things we go through. And each team does that. And obviously on our end, the disappointing side of Chicago was we didn't get to run many laps. So we were definitely motivated as far as the 9 team to get to New Hampshire and have a really good race. But Kyle gave us advice on how hard it was going to be to pass at New Hampshire, things like that, just a heads up on. So he's really an important role for the whole race team, including the crew chiefs, and he just helps everyone grow and get ready for the weekend.
Yeah, one of the things you're allowed to do now with the victory, and you're automatically moving on to that second round with 6 drivers, is your preparation to run for a championship. And part of being able to move forward is just taking a little step back and looking at your season overall. And when you look back at your season, besides seeing the 6 wins, you also see a lot of finishes in the double digits or even worse. How do you evaluate or stop the peaks and the peaks and valleys and the highs and lows? How do you even those out to really contend for this championship in the next races?
Well, I think, from a rookie perspective, sometimes when you're pushing hard for wins, things happen, and sometimes it's really hard to balance the good and the bad in a rookie season when you're racing for wins, and then some mistakes you just don't know because you don't have the experience of. So we've definitely experienced some of that. We've had some things, just penalties, different things that have set us back to, maybe finish 10th or 11th. And we definitely want to minimize those, but I think it all starts with setting the tone with, if you have an opportunity to win, you take those and obviously make the most of the day you have. If you can't win, that's what this chase is all about. So we approach these next couple races just like we have to race for points like everyone else, and try and get the best result we can so that we don't have to feel like we need to flip a switch in the next round and start to get back to our form. So these next 2 races are really important, and we're going to do the same things we've been doing.
Yeah, finishing up here with William Byron, who brought the Toyota KBM prepared truck into victory lane. So you mentioned it. You're still a rookie. You have a yellow stripe on your bumper, but you have 6 wins. Do you feel like a rookie still?
Yeah, I learned pretty quickly how much of a rookie I am last weekend at Chicago when we got in that early crash. Things just happen sometimes. You start to trust yourself. You start to feel like you have that false sense of security, and you get to, realize what it's like to have those things happen. But I definitely feel like I'm a rookie in a lot of ways. In some ways, I feel like that's a good thing because I don't have those preconceived ideas about, being experienced and not thinking something's going to work. So I think it's helped our team overall be fresh and stay that way.
William, last thing I wanted to ask you before we wrap up is now you head to Las Vegas Motor Speedway coming up this weekend. What are your thoughts about racing there and your 1.5 mile program in general as you head out west?
Well, I think our 1.5 mile program's been strong. I mean, our trucks have been really good there at most of the 1.5 miles. And I think if we just have a solid practice, we approach it like it's a serious race for us. Obviously, we're not going to bring, our bullets because, we're into the next round, but we're still going to compete and still going to race really hard. So hopefully we can do that successfully. And, Las Vegas is always a good place to maybe take some gambles on pit strategy and stuff.
Looks like it's going to be a fun championship battle, and you're off to a great start. Congratulations on the big win, and look forward to catching up with you out in Vegas.
Thank you. Appreciate it, man.
There you go. William Byron, driver of the Liberty University Toyota at Kyle Busch Motorsports. I mean, that's a phenomenal year that guy's having. 18 starts. Only 18 starts and 6 victories already, leading the chase after round 1, has his ticket punched to round 2.
Yeah, he really drags the average age of our winners this weekend down.
He's 18.
18 years old. Yeah, won't turn 19 till December. So he can't even buy beer yet. He can register to vote.
Yeah, and he's gone. He was taking some online classes. Remember when we had him earlier? Some online classes at Liberty. Well, now he's moved on campus, got a roommate living in the dorm, the whole bit there, and he's racing in his spare time, I guess you could say.
Yeah. So what are you doing this weekend? I'm gonna go hang out at the party. What about you? I'm gonna go win Loudon.
Yeah. Can you imagine?
No.
That's just something that you never have to experience under a normal college environment. But that's really cool to see him balancing everything the way he does and just having a phenomenal year. He and his teammate Christopher Bell.
Only one race into the Camping World Truck Series chase, and it's his to lose already. That's the feeling in the garage with the performance. And again, we've talked earlier in the year about teams that have had speed but haven't been able to execute. His rookie isms, he mentioned earlier, his inability to calm himself down and complete a good truck race, even if he can't win, and he ends up finishing 15th. Mm-hmm. They knock those corners off and make them nice and smooth, and he takes those wrecks or the 14ths and 15ths, and he finishes second and thirds, and he still continues winning like we saw this weekend, and it is their championship to lose. He just can't make any of those mistakes.
Yeah, and boy, as he mentioned, Chicago was one of those races he'd like to forget. If he can avoid having those, he'll be in the catbird seat as the championship goes forward. Now, as we mentioned, his teammate is Christopher Bell, also a rookie. He finished second to him at Loudon, New Hampshire. Here's what Bell had to say going after the race, and after that, we'll take a quick timeout. Christopher Bell has climbed out of the truck after a strong second-place run, guys, and he just got some congratulations, a handshake and a pat on the back from his team owner, Kyle Busch, as he climbs out of the machine. A strong run for him in the Sirius XM truck. Christopher, you were closing rapidly there at the end of that race when the lap traffic got involved. Where did you need a little bit more?
Needed about 177 laps. We were good all day long, and actually, I'd say we were great all day long, but we weren't. We were in another league compared to the 9. He's leaps and bounds better than everyone today. But just really, really thankful that the Sirius XM Tundra was really good today, and really just got to thank all my guys, everyone at KBM, the chassis shop, TRD, Toyota, JBL. Everybody who partners with us works really hard to get us here.
This is MRN Motorsports Monday.
From work life to nightlife. From home to the road, your day can take you anywhere. These fast-paced times call for Wrangler Advanced Comfort jeans. Advanced Comfort is designed to keep up with you, no matter where you go or what you're doing. They're made with 20% stronger denim and 4-way flex technology that moves with you. Wrangler Advanced Comfort. Go anywhere, look great, and be comfortable. Wrangler Advanced Comfort jeans. Try on a pair today.
Ready to take the training wheels off your race scanner? Go to fanvision.com and upgrade your experience with FanVision. Not only will you be able to hear the race,
Dale Earnhardt Jr. gets a good run, drafting help from Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick. Jr. again pulls up alongside for the race lead.
you'll see every moment through live video, instant replays, live stats, and more.
Hi, I'm Jamie McMurray, driver of the #1 Cessna Chevrolet, and I never go to the track without my FanVision. So go to fanvision.com to rent or buy yours today.
Business is a lot like racing. It takes a strong team of pros to succeed. That's why Freightliner Trucks created TeamRunSmart.com, a free online community that connects owner-operators with the trucking industry's A-team. The Team Run Smart pros and coaches help maximize your profitability with real-world advice on everything from fuel-efficient specking to healthy eating to filing taxes. Sign up today to earn rewards and connect with fellow truckers at TeamRunSmart.com.
Hey, I'm Martin Truex Jr. Now back to Joey Meyer and Woody Kane on Motorsports Monday. Joey Meyer. Is that the Joey Meyer, the spotter? Pilot? Joey Meyer, pilot, spotter, is on the radio? You guys actually, wow. Can you record this? Can you record this and be like, wow, Joey Meyer's on the radio. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. He loves you. You can tell.
Yeah,
you can feel a real bond there.
Yeah, we have a bond. It's like Velcro.
Like two brothers rolling around on the carpet throwing haymakers at each other?
Like Velcro. One is that soft side and one's that sticky, loopy side, you know?
Oh, that's fantastic. Martin Truex Jr., thanks for doing that. All right, now let's get to On Track, Off Track, the portion of the program where we talk about some things that are going well in the sport and some things we think maybe aren't going quite as well as they could. Joey, what about you? What's going well?
You know, in 2016, as we start every season, we move forward with a rule book, and over the years, the rule book gets a little thicker and gets a little more with different vernacular and vocabulary gets used. But one of the things NASCAR has the ability to do now with our technology is issue rules updates and be able to be a chameleon during the year and not start the year in February and go, oh, these are the rules. We've made them, and that's the way we're going to go for the entire year. Years ago, we'd see manufacturers gain a very early edge, and the other 2 or 3 manufacturers were simply behind for the rest of the year. Now we see a molding of the rules as we move forward. We can disseminate the information very quickly with apps. I just got an app update this weekend, was app bulletin number 18 or 19. We've only had 27 races this year, so you can see the fluidity of the rules.
Wait, the what?
The fluidity.
No, I thought it was a fluidity in there. There was a little hitch in your giddy-up going on. All right.
So what we have is NASCAR's ability to always mold itself and try to make the sport better week in and week out. And for that, years ago would take months to try to get a rule change out and get the teams to be able to adapt. But now we're adapting on a weekly or daily basis, it seems like. Kudos to them for being that flexible and not being so set in stone that when they have a rule, because in the old days, they would make rules in December and January, and those were the rules for the whole year.
And that's it.
And you weren't allowed to change, even though halfway through the year there was an obvious rule mistake or differences of opinion for a rule mistake. So now we have the flexibility to chameleon to mold the rule book around the current situation. So that's very good.
Yeah, I think, too, you hear a lot of the drivers talking this year that the brass, NASCAR, is listening to them like they never have before. There was a sense that it was my way or the highway previously. I mean, we saw some teams, particularly with manufacturers, if one got a little too far ahead, the others would come and lobby until they got that rules change. But now it's a much more collaborative effort than we've seen in the past, and I think that's a good thing for the sport.
I agree.
All right. For me, On Track is Xfinity or truck standalone races, and some of you might be surprised to hear me say that because we have defended on this show, at least I have, and I think Joey would agree a lot of times about Cup guys going to Xfinity races or truck races, and every single driver to this point, Joey, you'd agree, every single driver we've asked says bring them on. We want to race against them. However, with the chase format this year in the Xfinity Series and the Camping World Truck Series, I think it's cool to have them at least have that first weekend where they get the spotlight to themselves. The only Cup driver who raced at Kentucky in the Xfinity Series was Ryan Blaney. We had no Cup guys racing in the Camping World Truck Series at New Hampshire. I don't know that I'd like to see a rule necessarily or anything like that where you ban these guys because Fans do like to see some of their guys come down and race in the other divisions once in a while. I think they have it out for Kyle Busch. They don't want him to do it because he wins too much. But be that as it may, I think it was cool for that first weekend to let them have their spotlight. And when we get to Homestead, it is a rule that if you're running for points in another series, you can't compete in the other series championship battle.
Yeah, I think it's worded to where if you were in the chase the previous year, you can't run Homestead. So when you show up at Homestead, like for our team, for Team Penske, Ryan Blaney or another rookie is able to run the 22 car, and the 18 car, Matt Tifft will probably be in, Kyle can't run it, and so forth. I like the idea of standalones. We definitely need to build a brand with outside drivers that haven't been successful yet in the Sprint Cup Series. The issue that I see at every standalone, unfortunately, is the amount of fans that show up. One of the largest arguments we hear are from the fans and talk about, we need companions or non-companions and standalones. We need to get our other drivers. But then nobody shows up for them. So it's kind of this hypocritical mentality is if you want a standalone race, you know, years ago we had Rockingham was shut down and we brought a truck race back. For 1 year there was a lot of people there. The following year it looked like a ghost town. So you have to be able to support what you're requesting. And if you're requesting these standalones or these non-companions without cup drivers, then you have to be able to support the track, because we got rid of Chicago from last year as a standalone. Now we have Kentucky. We didn't have a lot of people there. We have to figure out a way to get these fans to the stands. I don't care if it's free tickets or whatever. In my opinion, you get the people there to watch your product. You feed them hot dogs and Coca-Cola products all afternoon long, but get them into the facility if that's the way it's going to work.
And then maybe they'll find something they like and come back. But I agree. I think it's a good opportunity for folks to come out. The other end of that is if you're going to ask for it and they give it to you, then you got to go out and support it. All right, let's go to the other side of the spectrum. What's not going quite so well in your opinion?
All these rule changes.
Wait, what? Wait a minute. Aren't you the same guy who just a minute ago said it's a great thing?
Okay, so we have rule changes, and we have ways to enforce the rules. And most of the time when the rule is made on a Monday, it's enforced on Tuesday and beyond. What we saw last week and what really blew a lot of the teams' minds, except for the 78 and 48 team, is a rule change that was retroactively applied, and that seems kind of contradictory. When we showed up last week in Chicago, all 40 of the teams that competed had the same rule book. After the race was completed with Martin Truex Jr. becoming the victor and then failing the laser inspection system platform, and the 48 failing the platform.
Yeah, but not in the major way that would have meant it's an encumbered win and you can't use that credit to move on.
But it would have been a penalty.
Yes, I get you.
But then we came out during Tuesdays and Wednesdays and created a new rule, which is fantastic. If you miss my on-track, just rerun this tape here and you'll hear me talk about how great it is that we changed the rule. But to have to apply it retroactively is kind of contradicting how we race, because essentially that rule would have or could have affected Ryan Newman's strategy 2 races ago at Richmond.
Right. He would have gone into Richmond with a much lower deficit to try to make up, and maybe it would have changed his strategy.
Right. So there has to be a fair playing ground for all the teams, and one of the NASCAR's mentality was, well, it was affecting the 48 team more than the 78 team because of the point hit. But we have to remember, if you don't make Homestead, points still matter for all the chase drivers that aren't making Homestead as a championship run. So to retroactively apply rules is kind of bad. It sets a very bad precedent, even though NASCAR, kudos to them, said, hey, the reason we're making this rule change and retroactively applying it is we made a mistake when we were figuring out the rules to begin with. But again, we all had the same package, and that's the only simple, fair way to apply it.
Right. I'm kind of torn on that, because I agree with you on the one hand that it didn't apply evenly to what Ryan Newman faced going into Richmond. Then again, too, it didn't apply evenly to what Martin Truex Jr. would have faced versus what Jimmy Johnson would have faced. They said it's our mistake. We're trying to fix the fix, so to speak, and make sure that this doesn't benefit somebody unintentionally. But on the other hand, I can see as well that the 10 points or whatever it was or could have been that Jimmy Johnson might have lost could affect whether or not someone else makes it to the next round. I guess my point is, what's wrong with trying to fix the mistake?
Because we all showed up, because the mistake may not have been made had those two partners been where they were. If Truex didn't win or Jimmy Johnson did win, you don't know what the variables are to go back and look and only apply it really to those two guys. Everybody operated under the same rule book. That event was completed, and at the end, those two cars didn't pass inspection for whatever it was. That inspection process at the end of the race was done with the current rules at the end of that race.
Yeah.
It was fair to everybody. Everybody was playing by the same set of rules. Then
we went back in time.
Then we went back in time and said, no, they didn't really have a penalty because now these new rules aren't a penalty, even though it was a penalty then.
Yeah.
And it just kind of sets a very weird precedent.
All right, I get you there. I get you. All right, for me, off track is going to be Cup post-race right now, and it applies to what Joey was saying about rules changes. It applies to the fix that NASCAR made. It seems like right now we're spending way too much time, not that we shouldn't, but we're spending way too much time talking about is this guy going to pass tech? Are these guys swerving too much on the back stretch to try and reset the cars before they go through tech? Did Kevin Harvick burn the car down on the back wheels and try and sneak something past somebody? And not just him. Others have done that as well. We're spending entirely too much time focusing on what's going to happen after the race instead of what happens on the track during the race. And I think the circumstances that we're in kind of dictate that, but I don't think it's necessarily the greatest focus we can have.
No, unfortunately, we all know as a race team that we're pushing the edge of every envelope that we have. NASCAR opened up a tolerance for the LIS machine, and now race teams are trying to move their tolerance, which was here. NASCAR's new tolerance is here. We're trying to push our tolerance up to their new tolerance. We saw cars going through the inspection platform. So now what we're seeing is unusual is that after every race in the chase this year, all 16 cars are going through the inspection process.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Okay, that's a very good thing because every point matters and every position matters. But now we have live tweeting of it going on.
Yeah,
and we
live tweeting of post-race tech.
We essentially have a housewives of Loudon waiting for the one person to stand out and who broke what. And, you know, the 18 car had to go around because it was a little light and it was a big deal and everybody gets jerked up. We didn't even talk about the race, you know, and that was unfortunate. So now the inspection process has taken on a little life of its own. And unfortunately, people want that controversy. They want to see who's going to fail. And, we can't wait. And it's no different than, and I back up a little bit, looking at all the media that sits outside the NASCAR center waiting for the penalty to be
center,
announced.
Yeah, when they're deliberating or whatever.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
It used to be just an email got sent out, you know, or even when we showed up the following week, you read it in the paper.
Yeah.
You know, now we have multiple media members eating lunch and talking about who's getting lunch and I'm going to talking to this. So, yeah, it's definitely becoming it's creating its little own life form. Absolutely.
One note on that before we move on to talk about some Xfinity racing in post-race and that type of thing. John Hunter Nemechek failed post-race at Loudon in the Camping World Truck Series, not because of the skew tolerances we're talking about on the Cup side, but because the height of the truck was off. So we should hear something about that later on this week. All right, let's talk a little Xfinity racing. How about Elliott Sadler going to victory lane at Kentucky? The veteran gets it done.
So you made mention that Ryan Blaney was one of the few Cup drivers. We made the trip over from Laconia Airport and flew into Kentucky, and Ryan Blaney hopped in that car for the first time for qualifying. Austin Cindric did a really good job of preparing it. But you see Ryan Blaney ended up third, and you're like, well, I thought he ran really good. We were actually leading that race with 4 laps to go after the red flag and an opportunity to win. Daniel Suarez got behind Elliott Sadler and was able to push him by Ryan in the outside lane. And we were able to bring it back home third. But Elliott Sadler proved that the youth movement is still delayed just a little bit. Elliott Sadler trying to capture his first series championship over at Junior Motorsports, kind of on a second wind, if you will, because this was going to be his last year.
Yeah.
One main was going. He was going to really be out of a ride. The youth movement was coming in. And then a couple weeks, maybe a month later, one main said, we don't want to leave. We want you as our driver. And now, so he's got a second wind, if you will, for 2017 and beyond. And he's showing the youth movement in his own self and that race team by getting that car to victory lane.
All right, and here's what Elliott Sadler told our Tyler Burnett afterwards.
Just proud of my guys. We didn't have a winning car at the beginning of the race, and I wasn't doing a good job with information. And Kevin kept working on it and made it really good there at the end. It was good enough to where we could only do gas only at the end of the race and get some track position. So good pit stops all night, good adjustments, and that never quit attitude that we have at Junior Motorsports. So proud of everybody on this one main financial team, and we'll go get them at Dover next week.
You've had one heck of a year. You come into this, race
with a points lead, then it's taken away. Describe the emotions that you've had here the past couple weeks, and then, of course, kicking it off right in the first race of the chase.
Yeah, it's tough giving away 58 points, but it makes it feel a little bit better when you can come back the next week and kind of win your way to the second round. And look, I mean, this was our plan, and this is what we dreamed we could maybe do, is come here and win this race, being a standalone event. And can't thank all their fans enough and here in Kentucky for coming out and seeing us. And this is very special to win this race.
There you go, Elliott Sadler in victory lane at Kentucky Motor Speedway. Now on the other side of the spectrum, you see Eric Jones now just outside the red line. He came in as the top seed, but got swept up in a wreck. Here's what he had to say about that afterwards.
I was on us pretty tight and just put us in a bad aero situation. It's pretty flat getting into 3, and I did all I could to get slowed down to try to stay off of him, but just couldn't do it. So it's unfortunate. We had a super fast car. One that probably should have won the race and could have won the race, but just couldn't get it sorted out on the restart. So unfortunate, but it's racing. Well, we have to run really well, Dover and Charlotte. If not get a win, I think they only kick. I don't know if they kick 2 or 4 out, but either way, we're going to have to run well to put ourselves in a good position. So it makes it tough on us. I thought tonight would be the night we'd get a win and get locked in and not have to worry about it, but unfortunately, we got caught up in a mess.
Yeah, just like we saw William Byron's truck from the winning victory in Loudon, New Hampshire, we see the yellow bumper across the 20, and exactly what he's talking about. He has to get rid of those mental mistakes as a rookie and racing around the chase guys. He went into that race, you hear him say, I was expecting to win.
Mm-hmm. He was the top seed.
Exactly right. And that mentality in these first early sessions has to change a little bit. Yeah, we all want to win, but the big picture is you don't need to win. You cannot win the championship at Kentucky. You can lose it.
Yeah.
You can lose it. And we saw that right now. He's 1 spot out, 3 points from being in that coveted transfer spot. I think he'll move forward at the next couple of races and not have a problem. That series championship is his to win as a rookie, and that would be unprecedented to see 2 rookies be able to win championships in both the Camping World and XFINITY Series. But they can't allow that yellow bumper to reach up and bite them.
Yeah, and it sure did at Kentucky. And as he mentioned there, some guys are going to get eliminated here. You can lose those pretty quickly if you don't pay close attention to your P's and Q's. So they will move on. The XFINITY Series will to Dover this coming weekend. All right, another time out here on Motorsports Monday. When we come back, Tim Fedewa will join us. He's the spotter for Kevin Harvick.
This is MRN Motorsports Monday.
In the Outback, we think the best part about racing is the noise, the engine, the pits, and a Kevin Harvick top 10 finish. Especially a Kevin Harvick top 10 finish. That's because if Kevin Happy Harvick, driver of the number 4 Chevrolet, places in the top 10 in today's race, there's free bloomin' onions this Monday. So you'll have a happy bloomin' Monday. Only at Outback Steakhouse. Valid with any purchase. 1 per table. Participation may vary. Registered trademarks used with permission.
Whatever you drive, wherever you go, Hercules Tires will get you there. Whether you're running on dirt or running a job. Our dependable, high-quality tires are the perfect fit for your needs. For unmatched value, selection, and warranty with industry-leading road hazard protection, there's only one choice, Hercules Tires. To learn more, visit HerculesTire.com or call 800-677-9535. Hercules Tires, ride on our strength.
From work life to nightlife, from home to the road, your day can take you anywhere. These fast-paced times call for Wrangler Advanced Comfort jeans. Advanced Comfort is designed to keep up with you, no matter where you go or what you're doing. They're made with 20% stronger denim and 4-way flex technology that moves with you. Wrangler Advanced Comfort. Go anywhere, look great, and be comfortable. Wrangler Advanced Comfort jeans. Try on a pair today.
Hey, I'm Michael Waltrip. Now back to Joey Meyer and Woody Kane on Motorsports Monday.
As we mentioned, Kevin Harvick goes to victory lane at New Hampshire, punches his ticket to round number 2 in the 4-car. And joining us on the guest line now, the man who spotted for him there and has been all year and helped him get the victory lane, Tim Fedewa. Tim, welcome back to the program, man, and congratulations.
Thanks, Woody. Glad to be here.
Tell us about this race because, man, we were talking earlier, the Toyotas were rocket ships and led all but 20 laps, but then it comes down to a final restart, and you guys get it done. How'd that happen?
Yeah, I mean, we had a good race car. You know, we never really got it out front. We didn't qualify quite like we wanted to, and we were happy with the car when we unloaded, and we just kept Rodney and the guys just kept tuning on it, and Kevin was pretty happy with it all along. Beginning of the race, he was happy with it. It's just tough to pass. New Hampshire's a tough racetrack, and he just kept minding his P's and Q's. We stayed out of trouble, and he got her done on that last restart, which was pretty awesome. That was fun to watch from where I was at.
Timmy, we can get into the technical aspect of the actual race in Loudon, but I want to go in a different direction. As a past nationwide Busch Series winner, 4 times, winning at Nazareth, which is a track you could say it's similar to a Loudon, New Hampshire. And you stand on the roof and you're talking to a Sprint Cup champion that you were able to bring him to victory a couple years back and bring home that big trophy. Do you get more thrill out of doing what you did Sunday as a spotter, or can you remember back when you as a driver at Victory Lane? What brings more thrill to you?
Well, to be honest with you, I think the driving part of it did. But at the same time, it's a different appreciation. I realize now, how much, just how lucky I am to do what I do and be able to work with a good team and be in a good sport. Usually I got Mondays off. I just can't bitch much. I got a good deal, and I work hard when I race. I work hard now as a spotter, but it's just a little bit different. I think you get older and you put your values a little differently. But when you wake up, when you leave the track with the trophy, it's an awesome day in the Sprint Cup Series, and you definitely earned it. That's for sure.
Hey, speaking of that, Tim, getting a little older, I know I got some gray hairs popping out on my chin and on my head now as well. But do you know who's going to cross a big milestone this coming Wednesday?
I got a pretty good idea from the way you're talking, but go ahead and tell us.
Joey is going to be crossing into the 50-year-old bracket. Can you believe that? He's finally there.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say nothing, but his goatee is
it's
pretty white.
It's experienced.
Yeah.
And experienced goatee.
Experienced. Mine, that's why I don't grow a beard, because it would be all white. I'm close to that as well. I don't want to tell you how close, but I'm real close as well. So
1967 is born year, so he got a little bit of ways to go.
Wow. Yeah. That's not the one you look forward to, is it? 50, I guess.
No, I got to find a razor because I passed it a couple years ago.
Hey, Timmy, I have to ask you, Kevin Harvick and your team's been in the news a little bit lately with Kevin Harvick being a little animated. His nickname is Happy, but recently, because of the pit crew woes, he hasn't been exactly happy, but he did give kudos to your pit crew this last weekend. When Kevin's having a so-called meltdown, and I'm using the air quotes if you're watching me on TV, are you one of the guys that tries to calm him down, or does Rodney calm him down, or you guys just let the fuse go and see where it ends?
Well, to be honest with you, he's I haven't heard him have a meltdown yet.
Okay.
If you say, like, if we had a bad pit stop in the past, and we had our troubles. They're well documented, but to say that, guys, you got to get your what together, I don't think that's a meltdown.
Okay.
If he tells that to me, I'm going to do my best to get my crap together. I take it like I'm old school. You ain't gonna hurt my feelings by yelling at me.
Yep.
My football coach used to grab me by the face mask and throw me to the ground and tell me to sit down over on the bench for 10 minutes and think about what I just did. That's just where we come from.
Yep.
That's why we're 50, I guess. I just think it shows the passion that Kevin's got. Like I said, in all the 3 years I've been spotting for Kevin, I can maybe on one hand have one meltdown. That's pretty good.
Yeah, and to that point, he said after the race, somebody asked him a similar question, and he said, well, I get upset because I care, and I guess you'd rather have a guy who is that way than a guy who's like, oh, well, and just kind of lets it roll off his back when things don't go well.
Think too, the media hits you at the wrong time. They just keep probing. They want, after the race especially, and they want you to say something, and then, you say something that maybe you probably should have thought about and said it Monday, but I don't know. I just, we know Kevin's been hard on pit crews, I guess, over the years, but, he wants everybody to do their job like he does and expects the best. And, I think a lot of times it makes them guys better. I can't argue with the guy because I don't drive anymore. If I had his talent and if I would have been able to have a mentor like Kevin when I drove, or had more of his attitude, I'd probably still be driving. He does what he needs to do to get the job done, and he's a proven winner and a champion, and I'm not going to doubt anything the guy does because he does an awesome job for us.
Yeah, and that's another part of what he also said after the race is this team knows how to focus when the chips are on the line, knows how to get it done. Do you feel from your experience that having been through the wars and having won a championship kind of hardens this team a little bit to let that stuff go and focus on the main goal, because that's what he believes and what he said yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think it all helps. I mean, the experience you got going in, you know, we're not too afraid of anything. We were, you know, going into Dover last year, we had to win the race and or be eliminated early, and we got the job done there. I mean, so I mean, it's scary times to be in the chase. I'd like to say, yeah, we're a big tough 4 team, but I mean, here it's you got to mind your P's and Q's, and you got to do a lot of things right. And yes, experience that we've had helps, and but also I never breathe easy. The only time I'll breathe easy is a little bit this coming weekend because we got a bye week basically. So, but come the next one, it'll be Nerve City again.
Yeah, it's funny because you come out of Chicago with a very fast race car, get trapped a lap down through an anomaly of the yellow flag, green flag pit sequence, but now you win the second race. You get to go to Dover and kind of relax. But soon as the relaxation is over, that second round picks back up, and if you haven't made it by Talladega, that's a pretty important race.
Yeah, it is, and you know, no one wants to go to Talladega having to have a win. And Joey, you've been there, where you had to win there, and you guys got it done. And I mean, you don't really want to go anywhere having to really have to, you know, put the pressure on. You'd like to just say, you know, in a perfect world, run 4th every week or 2nd every week, and maybe get a win, but and just get your way into Homestead. But that's not the way this thing works. It's tough. You know, you see good drivers struggle. Good drivers don't make it every year. They get eliminated. Good teams. I mean, just like yesterday, I feel bad for the one car. He run top 7, top 6 all day, and I looked up the thing, and he was 19th at the end of the race just because of circumstances. And you just feel for them teams. You know how hard everybody works.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Tim, we were talking earlier about we do our on-track, off-track thing about how there's too much focus on post-race now with tech and burnouts and swerving on the track and all that. And Joey had all this stuff as his on and off in terms of at least NASCAR's listening to the teams now in terms of making changes, but that there was one made that now is kind of retroactive. How do you feel about all this swirl that's going on right now with post-race?
Well, you know, I guess I understand both sides of it, but and I just wish that, in my eyes, if we need to have a firmer rule and a firmer punishment, and they need to take care of it, whether it be, you know, getting eliminated because you don't meet the rules. You can give them the win, but they have to have some kind of repercussion for breaking the rules. And I think once you lay that gauntlet down and show them that you mean business, I think people will start taking notice. And I think we just keep pushing it as teams.
And that's kind of the job, though, right? That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what they get paid to do. But I don't know. It's a tough spot for NASCAR. It's a tough spot for the teams. It just, I feel bad for the fans because they don't understand the severity of the penalty sometimes. A penalty's a penalty, and then you try to explain it, and even I can't explain it half the time why they got this and not that. And it's very confusing, very technical, and you just wish it could be a little more black and white.
Yeah, I agree with you. I've said that same thing. If we're in it every day and then have trouble explaining it,
exactly.
Boy, that needs to kind of get cleaned up somehow.
And then NASCAR's, you know, they're trying to do it right, and they're, you know, it's kind of it's just not on offsides. You know, it's just not a face mask. There's a lot to it, and a lot going on, and I think they do a good job with it. And they're trying. They're always trying to make it better and make it more transparent. But you know, we'll have our issues, and hopefully we'll learn from it, and in the future we'll get it straight, and everybody understand what we got going on.
Hey, here's one for you too before we let you go. Can you define what a catch is in the NFL anymore? It's not just us.
Yeah. That's right.
That's fantastic.
True.
Congratulations,
All right. Thanks,
Timmy,
man.
Good job.
Hey, thanks,
Appreciate your
guys.
time.
Yep.
There you go.
thank
Tim
you.
Fedewa, the spotter for Kevin Harvick, as they've punched their ticket into round number 2. It's pretty cool. You can hear the frustration. I've heard it from you and from many others as well when we have a little trouble explaining it to a casual fan who might get interested in the sport. That's an issue.
Well, anytime you have, again, that many rule changes and that many rules, you have guys back at the shop, the infamous guys back at the shop, going through that rule book, looking for avenues that's not clearly defined. And we're some of the best in the business at finding those avenues.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
It's what they pay you for.
It's what I mentioned before the show. NASCAR can be looked at as like one race team, but that one race team is competing against 40 other of the best race teams out there, the smartest engineers, the smartest crew chiefs, and some of the smartest crew guys that are working on the team.
40 on one's not good odds.
No, and so we're always finding a loophole. No matter how many ways you write a rule, we can find a loophole, and that's what we have to try to get through and watch that avenue. Tim Fedewa, a spotter for Kevin Harvick in the winter this weekend, sat on the Darlington pole once and won Nazareth twice.
How about that? And Nazareth was a unique track.
Exactly
That's pretty
right.
cool. I'm glad you brought that reference up. Yeah. We mentioned earlier that Martin Truex Jr. finished in the second spot, or rather Martin Truex Jr. finished actually in the 7th spot. Kenseth was second. But Truex had a really fast car, and he had some comments after the race that we wanted you to hear. Check this out.
We took 2 tires, mid part of the race there and lost the lead, and that was really the race because, I got inside Kenseth 5, 6, 7 times there towards the end, and he just kept holding me down and getting me loose, and I was afraid to wreck him. He was running me in there real tight, so that was the last thing I wanted to do is get into him, and that, trying to get by him for all that time, I just burnt my rear tires off a bit, and then those restarts at the end, I couldn't get going. Spin the tires real bad, and then be really loose for a couple laps, and then I'd be really tight after that. So just used it up trying to get by him, and was hoping all those cautions didn't come so we could race for it. But once we started getting all those cautions, just the way I used the car up trying to get by him hurt me a lot on those starts at the end.
Just the frustration of circumstances there, and I like when he said, I didn't want to wreck him. I was afraid to wreck him.
Well, they're teammates. They buy their cars from Joe Gibbs Racing, but earlier in the year when we put the infamous VHT on the bottom lane at Bristol Motor Speedway, Loudon, New Hampshire was one of the tracks that was talked about trying to widen that groove out because you heard the frustration with Martin trying to get by. He could get inside of his teammate, so-called Matt Kenseth, but he could not complete the pass because there simply isn't really 2 grooves in that track.
All right, let's take one more time out here on Motorsports Monday. When we come back, we'll look ahead at Dover and Las Vegas.
This is MRN Motorsports Monday.
Are you in the concrete, construction, or waste industry? Are repair bills starting to pile up as your current mixer, dump, or waste truck starts to show its age? Before you make that plunge, consider an alternative to buying new. The Housby 2G second generation program is the complete refurbishment of your existing used trucks without the hefty price tag that comes with it. Extend the life of your current trucks today and give yourself an economic alternative to that new truck price. For more information, visit Housby.com. Housby, an official sponsor of NASCAR for over 40 years.
In the Outback, we think the best part about racing is the noise, the engine, the pits, and a Kevin Harvick top 10 finish. Especially a Kevin Harvick top 10 finish. That's because if Kevin Happy Harvick, driver of the number 4 Chevrolet, places in the top 10 in today's race, there's free bloomin' onions this Monday. So you'll have a happy bloomin' Monday. Only at Outback Steakhouse. Valid with any purchase. 1 per table. Participation may vary. Registered trademarks used with permission.
And we're back with Kansas Speedway, who is still sorry.
That's right. I'm, really sorry to the coworkers of my fans who have to listen to all that loud talking on Monday. And sorry my drink prices won't turn your weekend into a loan application. And sorry the chase for the championship is more exciting than your last date.
The chase is on as the Sprint Cup Series Championship rolls in Sunday, October 16th for the Hollywood Casino 400 at Kansas Speedway. Tickets at kansasspeedway.com.
You're welcome.
I'm Bubba Wallace, and you're listening to MRN Motorsports Monday with Joey Meyer and Woody Kane.
How about Bubba Wallace? He comes home after that race at Kentucky Speedway with an 8th place finish, and he's tied for 4th in the standings right now.
We talked about them last week during the chase that Roush Performance Racing needed to pick up their performance. He led a number of laps there in Kentucky to show that he's ready for this chase.
Absolutely. All right, we got one more Twitter question to bring to you. Zach Copeland wants to know, with the talk of bringing in another manufacturer into the sport, what are some of the hurdles that are in the way for someone to accomplish that?
2 of the most hurdles that come to mind, the 2 of the biggest hurdles are aero and engines. We saw Toyota's development years ago with Michael Waltrip Racing suffer a number of engine failures early on. They can produce the horsepower, but they're not used to creating an engine that's going to run 9,800 RPMs for 500 laps or 500 miles based on the track size. Aero is another balance that they're looking for on their bodies. So aero and engines would be their two biggest causes for concern.
All right, we heard a little bit about Las Vegas from William Byron. Challenges at Dover coming up this week. Cup and Xfinity are there.
You fall off into the corners over 2 stories. You got to climb back out, and those big wrecks happen exiting both corners.
All right, all that is ahead. We'll have it all for you this weekend at MRN. Check MRN.com for schedules and listings to follow those races both this weekend at Dover and Las Vegas Motor Speedway. He's Joey. I'm Woody. We'll see you right back here next Monday for another edition of Motorsports Monday.
You've been listening to MRN Motorsports Monday, presented by Outback Steakhouse. Tune in again next Monday at noon Eastern for all the latest news, results, and interviews from NASCAR on MotorRacingNetwork.com. Brought to you by Hercules Tires. MRN Motorsports Monday is also available on demand at the MotorRacingNetwork.com Media Center. Or you can download it from iTunes or Stitcher. MRN Motorsports Monday is a production of the Motor Racing Network. All rights reserved.